Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by and welcome to today's Channel Focus webinar. Our topic for today is creating channel incentive programs that drive performance and increase loyalty. Our expert speaker for today is Jennifer Hartwell, Product Marketing Manager for Revitas, focusing on Revitas's channel management and contract lifecycle management solutions for the commercial markets. Jennifer recently moved from New York City to Center City, Philadelphia. Prior to Revitas, she worked for Canon USA for just shy of 13 years in a number of marketing functions such as alliances, product marketing, and analyst relations. Jennifer also worked for Canon Incorporated's Office Imaging Products Document Solutions Division in Tokyo, Japan for 2 years as an international expatriate. She earned her MBA from Pace University and a BA in marketing and an AS in fashion buying from the Fashion Institute of Technology. Jennifer enjoys many types of activities such as traveling, cultural activities, flower design, cycling, and swimming. All phone lines are in a listen-only mode, and later there will be a question and answer session with instructions being given at that time. You may also ask a question at any time using the chat window located in the control panel. Chat questions will also be answered at the end of the presentation. Today's session is being recorded, and you will be provided a copy of today's materials following the webinar. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Jennifer. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you for the introduction, and hello everyone on today's call and webinar. It is my pleasure to meet you on this webinar and to speak with you today with regards to channel incentive programs and how to develop targeted, higher impact incentives that deliver better channel outcomes. So today's discussion, we will talk about how to develop and build higher impact incentives. And with regards to that topic, we're going to talk about how you can improve partner engagement and satisfaction, increase sales at lowered costs, improve visibility for better business planning, and also how to have enhanced controls for partner program and compliance management. So these are the topics we're going to cover today. We always begin with starting with our 4 pillars here, and within the pillars, the challenges that most channel-intensive businesses are facing today. So most channel-intensive businesses want to increase channel revenue, they want to lower costs, they want to engage better with partners, and they want to gain actionable intelligence. So they're looking to basically understand what are the best programs that they can run with the best partners to increase their revenue. And for lowering their costs, how are they validating incentives and their payments? How are they accruing for making and budgeting and accruing for the spend that they want to spend on the channel for these incentive programs? Are they audit ready? And for engaging partners, are they utilizing programs, and do you understand their utilization of the programs? Are partners eligible for the programs? And are you conducting joint business planning together with your partners? And lastly, with actionable intelligence, what we're talking about is understanding what's working and what isn't working, and being able to really drill down into details of information with regards to channel management at your fingertips. So what we find is that these challenges that companies are facing with channel business, all of them relate to each other, and as we go through today's discussion, we will talk about each one of these challenges and goals and how by developing more targeted incentive programs you can address these challenges. So I'd like to begin with talking about the channel business landscape. What we found is over 80% of respondents to our survey generated over 20% of revenues through channel partners, with 40% generating at least half of their revenue through partners. And what we did is we tried to get an understanding from companies. Most of these companies were over $500 million to the billion-dollar range of manufacturers and other high-tech sectors. And what we did find is that there's a significant amount of revenue being generated from the channel. And there's also a similar report from Accenture with regards to the ROI on the channel that is more focused heavily on IT and tech, and those companies are generating 80% of revenues are all being derived from channel partners. So what we're finding is that in the channel business landscape, that partnerships are essential for driving revenue. And when we also ask the question, how are you viewing your partnership and within your channel? Are they of importance to you? Are they stable? What we found is that over half of the respondents said that the importance is increasing. And there's a number of reasons for that we will talk about today. And so we'd like to know, what are you doing to better appeal to partners and improve their mind share and get ahead of the competition? We also are focusing on incentives in particular in today's discussion. So it's important to have a picture of, we understand this revenue is coming from the channel, but how much of the spend to the channel to promote to your partners are you using incentives to generate the partnership generation of revenue? So what we found in a study from Deloitte is that a very high incentives play an extremely significant role in channel sales and in strategies with engaging and working with partners. And that you can see here in this pie chart that 42% is the lion's share, and that they're saying between 50 and 75% of channel sales are incentivized. And then if you look at the next highest at 25%, that's more than 75% of their channel sales are incentivized. So there's definitely a significant role that incentives and these programs that you're rolling out with channel partners have to play in basically generating their performance and working together with you and selling your products. And what we also find is that due to such a high pressure of incentives and so much revenue being generated from the channel and also working with so many partners, that there's a high complexity involved with this business. There's volumes of partners, programs, and products being managed, and these complexities may cause potential for revenue leakage, incentive abuse, and lack of accuracy. And also difficulties arise in tracking and maintaining compliance with channel partners for terms and conditions of contracts that you're working with them with regards to incentive programs. So what I'd like to do now is open up our first poll of the day. We'll have a couple of polls during this presentation to make sure that we're interactive and to get your feedback. So Lisa, if you'll open the first poll, please.
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer. All right, so we'll bring up the first poll this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. What percentage of channel sales are subject to the use of incentives? So we have less than 25%, 25 to 49%, 50 to 79%, greater than 75, or not applicable or unknown. So we'll give everyone a couple of seconds here to get their vote in. And we'll give you another 10 seconds or so. Almost everyone's voted by now. All right, excellent. All right, so what percentage of channel sales are subject to the use of incentives? Less than 25%, 20% of our attendees had said that one. No one picked 25 to 49. Then we shot up to 40% for those that are 50 to 79%. Greater than 75%, we have 30% of the attendees, and either NA or unknown at 10%. So Jennifer, definitely 50 to 79% was the greatest at 40%. So we'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. And that was very interesting, extremely interesting. It's either definitely the lion's share of the audience know that they are using incentives for most of their channel sales, between 50 to 75% or 75 and above. So that's really in alignment also with what we're finding in our studies, and also with understanding what your challenges are and how to address strategies to improve your incentive programs with your partners to help you generate additional revenue and accelerate your revenue. So thank you very much for your participation. So let's talk about accelerating revenue. This is definitely the top reason why we're talking about incentives today. You know, there's an urgent need to prove value from your channel investment. There's a significant investment that we're learning in incentives and dollars, and we'll talk a little bit about costs later in the presentation, but there's definitely an urgent need to prove value of your investment in your channel. There's increasing competition for the best partners. you will need to know which types of incentives are bringing the most return, and there's shifts in the technology landscape with regards to partners and how they're doing business with you. So how can you better appeal to partners with higher impact, more targeted programs? That's the question that we need to answer. And one of the things that is happening in the marketplace today that's making it a little bit more difficult is just this idea of the channel models that are evolving. So Gartner talks about this evolution with regards to swim lanes. And swim lane 1 is the traditional way that most companies were selling through the channel and selling products through the channel and technology-wise. And the second swim lane is hybrid, which is now talking about cloud business models together with the traditional business model. And then swim lane 3 is born in the cloud. So because channel partners are aligning around these 3 swim lanes, they have different business and program requirements. And so you as technology providers are finding it more difficult to recruit, manage, train, and even sell to your partners using the same programs that you had in the past. So this is all being driven by the force of the Internet of Things, as Gartner describes it, and for providers to support the success of their indirect business effectively, it's essential to understand that there's subtle but meaningful differences between the partner categories and that you should develop the appropriate programs to enable the right behavior from your entire channel ecosystems. So with that said, we also have a study that we asked companies, what are their common types of incentives? Because we understand that channel teams are using a broad range of incentives to motivate their partner sales. And what we're finding here is that this actually is no surprise, that most popular incentive programs are volume-based discounts, MDF, spiffs, and special pricing requests being the top 4, so to speak, and that things that are more targeted, such as stacked incentives, are a little bit farther down the line. And we're going to talk about today, why do we think that is? You know, most volume-based discounts, MDFs and spiffs are most prevalent. What is the reason for that? And why are companies simply not able to offer more creative, higher incentives, higher impact incentives? We also asked in our study, what is the effectiveness of the incentive programs to their knowledge and their ability? And what you'll see here is that there's actually, when I first look at this screen, there's a lot of red, and that red is somewhat effective. So even when you look across the board at all the types of incentive programs that are being run together at the same time to multiple partners across multiple products, it's really a little bit unclear as to what's being the most effective, or there's not really a sure answer. So we are seeing that special pricing requests are very effective. And why is that probably particularly common among these billion-dollar vendors? It's probably an indication that vendors are primarily interested in short-term gains over long-term strategic alignment with go-to-market activity with partners and effectiveness, that this is just more of an easier kind of reactive way to incent and close business. We're seeing that volume-based discounts, basic incentives, MDF stacked, and spiffs are all seen as somewhat effective, as I started today, with basic incentives being the most. Well, somewhat effective, could this simply be the reason because there's not enough insight as to how these programs are performing against each other and with which partners and with which products? And that's the same statement for complex and stacked incentives. So before I move on, I'd like to actually bring up the second poll to get an idea of your perspective and what incentives are most popular in your organization. Lisa?
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer. All right, so, pardon me. Next one, my company uses volume-based discounts, MDFs, spiffs, special pricing requests, or rebates. So we'll go ahead and start getting everyone to please select one of those. And we'll give everyone another 30 seconds or so to make sure that they get their vote in. We're right around the halfway point. About another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and view the results. Okay. So my company uses volume-based discounts at 11%, MDFs at 22%, spiffs at 11%, special pricing requests at 11%, and rebates at 44%. So rebates were twice as much as the next one, being MDFs, and the rest were all 11s. So there you have it, Jennifer.
Great, thank you, Lisa. That's very interesting to understand that rebates were the highest. We normally are finding things like volume-based discounts and, at least in our current research, volume-based discounts, MDFs, and more kind of wider, tiered programs or broad kind of programs were most popular, and it's interesting to see the increase in rebates, and I'd like to try to drill down and understand and find out a little bit more as to why. That was very interesting finding, so thank you for sharing with us. So what we'd like to share also now is this idea of avoiding zebra programs. So when we say zebra, what we're talking about is that with so many partners selling through with so many different vendors and so many different products, how are you standing out from the crowd? So how are you making your programs more appealing to them or differentiated to them? So zebra programs typically look like volume-based discounts, tiered programs, or generic discounts, fraud certifications, and they may result in an inability to differentiate and also to have increased costs over the time. So what we are recommending is taking an alternate approach. So what you should start to do is try to really understand and align your business model and your business strategies more closely in alignment with your partners. And a way to do that is to implement targeted higher impact incentive strategies that will accelerate revenue and reduce costs. And some examples are adoption of incenting your partners when they adopt new business models. Perhaps you're trying to sell a product in a different way in a cloud-based service, for an example, versus the traditional way that you were possibly selling in the past. And so you want your partners to still sell your product and not, stop altogether because you're changing your business model. So you want to also help them adopt to the change as well and to adopt to new business models as you adopt as well. You can incent them for penetration of new markets. Many times if you're launching a new product and it requires a whole new target market, you need your partners to help get you there. So you may want to think of a way to more strategically incentivize your partners based on that kind of strategy. Similarly, acquisition of market share. Perhaps just looking at dollars isn't enough. You know that you want to take over and put out the competitors in a market and make sure that you're increasing market share of your products and your brands. And sales of new products. So it's important what we're saying here, rather than just have the same kind of overall incentive to every product, to every partner, for every program, you can start to get creative. And you can offer benefits to select partners that give your organization competitive advantage. You can offer MDF for a wider range of activities. You can reward partners for adopting behaviors which lead to sales aligned with your business plan. And you can enable partners to combine or stack incentives and maximize their profits. So here's an example of tipping the scale in your favor. So if you have your gold partners, for, let's just say as an example, offer them stacked targeted incentives to deliver higher impact programs. This will foster long-term growth and vision of partnership and aligns with joint key business strategies. So on the left side of the scale, we're seeing a lower impact across the board 10% rebate, but a higher impact idea is to offer all of these different types of programs together with a base rebate. So instead of just rebating across the board, we believe that you can start to engage better with your partners, get more creative with the types of programs that you're offering to your partners and incentives to get them to continue to be working more closely with you and to accelerate your revenue. So let's take a quick look at perhaps why the results, okay, were 40% rebates, and why we're seeing across the board that most companies are still sticking with more of like generic volume-based types of discounts. we can start by just taking a quick peek inside the incentive process flow and then try to uncover some areas that maybe are challenges, because it is quite a process flow. So it starts at the manufacturer, where channel marketing and sales are building an incentive plan to meet revenue and business goals. Then they roll it out to, or then the incentive program and concepts are vetted with their top partners. Finance reviews the major programs. Then they roll out the incentives to partners via portal, email, and face-to-face meetings. Partner makes sales to customers. Orders are placed with the manufacturer. The sales data then goes to distributors, and point-of-sale data is entered into ERP systems. Then claims for incentive payments are made. Finance or sales ops evaluates claims for payments. Then here's where it gets interesting. Claims are either paid in full, they're partially paid or not paid, or if there's a dispute, an escalation could occur. So as we see, there's time involved here, there's multiple steps involved here, multiple stakeholders, and a lot of complexity going on. So it's kind of very clear why companies may want to stick to business as usual and stick to the programs that they have in place. And, you know, what are some common issues with incentives and rebates? So discount levels could be too complicated to track easily. Partner product and timing eligibility could be too hard to track. There could be too much administrative time, cost to take part in programs because of all of these steps. It could take too long to get paid. It could take time to track down reasons for partial payments. System and process limitations can restrict incentive design. Incentive performances can be unclear. Do you know the impact on products, sales, and by which partner, or do you just know the top 10%? You can struggle to track payments and claims using manual processes such as Excel spreadsheets. And it's very difficult to accurately accrue and understand, especially at the product level, how to budget and accrue for your spending of your incentive programs. So it's often easier just to pay the partner than dispute, which could result in increased costs. And incentives and programs are typically processed outside of the ERP systems. So what we're saying here is that these are some common issues, and the ways to solve these issues is by having a system in place for channel management. You need a channel management system that integrates completely with your channel management process so that you can be more creative with incentives and get over all of these common issues, which are primarily just time and being able to track and understand what's happening with your partners and with your programs and the incentives that you're using with them. And let's quickly just go through an accrual management process flow. So channel management designs quarterly incentive programs. They collaborate with finance to determine how much to accrue. Time goes by. Sale to the customer takes place. The manufacturer receives sales data. It's entered into the ERP. It automatically is put into the ERP system based on accrual rate. Update accruals, account and general ledger, and finance analyzes accrual balance monthly and quarterly for risk of over or under accruing. But some common issues with accruals is that ERP systems often lack the flexibility to have different accrual rates by product, by incentive. There's an inability to have product level accruals that makes it virtually impossible to determine product level profit and loss. Accrual rates should be dynamic and based on trends in product and incentive performance, but ERP systems alone do not support this capability. They should be able to estimate accrual amounts, percent or dollar based on historical sales and incentive performance data. ERP systems alone do not support this capability, and there's significant financial exposure for under or over accruals. So we just wanted to take you through that little journey of how companies are typically handling incentives in the process flow and the challenges that they're facing as we now talk about challenge number 2, how to control the cost of sale. So controlling costs protects the bottom line, and targeted incentives can save money. They can deliver greater impact with fewer qualified participants. So how can you implement better channel controls to reduce costs and prove the value of your investments? What are the hidden costs? Most organizations actually don't even have an idea or an understanding of what are the hidden costs when they're running inefficiently their incentive programs with their partners. So according to the Accenture report, 3%, I'll start with actually the second bullet, 3% to 5% of total revenues is being spent on indirect channel incentives. And then as much as 10% of the typical high-tech companies' indirect channel partner incentives are overspent or are generating an insufficient return on investment, or they're just really, it's really unknown. It's murky waters. We're not sure. So if we take this into consideration, these percentages seem low, but if you do want to take a look, if you're, for an example, if you're a $10 billion company with 80% of revenue coming through the channel, that equates to $8 billion coming through the channel per year. And you're spending on average 3 to 5%, so let's say 4%, and that equates to $320 million that's being spent annually on programs and incentives. And that's representing the investment that you're putting into the channel, and you want to get them to perform and give a return on your revenue and increase your revenue. So what we are finding to be the typical overspend is as much as 10%, and that equates to $32 million. That's quite a significant amount of money, and for not really understanding how your business is performing. And what is the financial impact of incentives? According to the Deloitte report, the majority of incentive spend is over $500 million annually. So that's a similar number of what we're saying, that most of this money is being spent on incentives, and that's what they're paying out on an annual basis. And then if we go back to what Accenture's saying, if 3 to 5%, 4%, you don't know where that $500 million is going, that's quite a problem. And even where this report also states that actual spend could even be higher due to manual validation processes, use of spreadsheets, silos of departments managing the incentive programs on their own. There's a lack of visibility across all programs, partners, and products, and there's a lack of visibility across regions. So what we feel is a very good solution is having the ability to validate and really understand and track what's happening with these incentives and validating those claims, so you really have an understanding of the money that you're paying out and investing in your incentive programs. And we find that incentive validation is also critical to keeping costs down. And what we're showing here is that according to our study, we found that about 80% of the respondents are validating manually or not at all. And this is quite a significant number. And the reason is because of what we stated earlier, that usually incentives are managed perhaps department by department, which is fine. However, there's no interaction between the systems to make sure that the validation is occurring. So that's a lot of cost that you're putting your company at risk. So inadequate financial controls can result in partner overspend and inability for accuracy in accruals development. And manual validation causes delays, increases risk in non-compliance, and it's also very error-prone. And we also found, that was from our Revitas study that we did with IGS, and then when we go to the Deloitte study, we also found a similar finding, that incentive claims reconciliation just lacks consistency. That companies are performing validation, but it kind of depends on the type of incentive, or it's done on an ad hoc manual method. There's really a lack of consistent processes for incentive reconciliation against terms and conditions and contracts, and the communication of policies and processes vary and really cause a lack of automated testing and validation on the incentives. And that's what's causing this ROI, such a high number of not really understanding where your money is going and your investment is going with regards to your incentives and your programs. So before I go into talking about an approach, actually let's do the poll. I'd like to do another poll right now. I would like to turn it over to Lisa to get your perspective on how you're validating your partner payments today.
Okay, well, thank you again, Jennifer. Okay, so this poll, to validate partner payments, I use manual inspection, a homegrown system, commercial software, or nothing, no validations. So we'll give everyone a couple of moments here to get their vote in. We have over half of you that have voted already. About another 10 seconds or so. Get the last few stragglers. Okay. So to validate partner payments, we had 75% say manual inspection, 8% said a homegrown system, 17% said commercial software, and 0% said nothing, which is probably a very good thing. So again, 75% said manual inspection, Jennifer.
Wow, thank you, Lisa. That is really surprising. I really love taking these polls. I hope you all enjoy and don't mind, because it really helps us to also keep, make sure we're accurate as well. I mean, we're finding these things when we do our research study, as well as, taking from leaders like Deloitte and Accenture. And it's always really nice in a way to see when everyone is saying the same thing. Most companies are using manual inspection, and that what we're telling you here is that it definitely keeps, things rolling. But is there a better way? And there definitely is a better way. And because of these changes and the way you need to work with partners and attract and engage and keep their attention and not become like zebra programs, and make sure as technology changes you're keeping up with the pace of change, it's important that you have a system in place so that you can become more creative with your incentive programs, because competitors are doing it as well. So manual inspection at 75% is pretty on target with what we're finding as well. Thank you very much for sharing with us. So what could be an alternative approach? So what can our customers do in terms of validating the requests for the partner payments and all the different types of incentives that are coming in? So what we're showing here is a gross to net profit waterfall. And what this is illustrating is, if you look on the blue bar is what's valid, and the orange or the red bar is what's being claimed. So this is just a snapshot to really understand in an instant with regards to your sales and the amount that that's coming in based on your sales data, and then deducting out the amount for the different costs, including costs for incentives and deductions. As well as things like administrative fees, merchandising costs, and then your incentives such as rebates and price protection, etc. And then you're coming up with the pocket price, from which is an intermediate margin, from which then you also subtract other costs of goods sold, where you then come up with your net revenue. So imagine if you can apply automated validations to run against your incoming sales data to identify which transactions are ineligible. So for each element of the gross to net waterfall, you can run automated validations against the conditions that you can set, and so that you can understand in an instant what the right partner is selling with the right products and at the right geography during the right time, and other performance parameters specified in your program. So what you can also see with this kind of approach is that you can see, okay, what we had before is what's valid, what's claimed, and then if you wanted to drill in to understand the details and what's being claimed, you can see if there's some kind of what's kind of background. You can identify the reasons if you need to reject a claim, and perhaps why the claim is not valid, and you can identify ineligible transactions. So some of these transactions could be, late timing, there's a dollar amount error, the partner isn't eligible, it's a duplicate claim, the product wasn't eligible according to the contract with the partner, or others. So what you can see here with this kind of approach, that you can really drill down and understand the claim transaction details so that you can prevent claims escalations or disputes. And as we learned earlier when we went through the steps of launching incentive programs and managing incentive programs, that could be a big hindrance to being able to accrue accurately, and also for hidden costs, and you might just start paying out on things and claims that you really don't need to be paying out. And with this kind of information, you can focus on partner satisfaction and amplifying the engagement with the partner, and you can be able to provide the level of insight for yourself and for them. So it provides the mechanisms for improving overall partner relationships. And additionally, this also assists with keeping costs down by giving you the ability to verify and validate incentives in real time. The savings are significant costs in time and money and in reducing overspend. So let's talk about improving partner engagement. We just illustrated one way to keep costs down, as well as giving you information that helps you improve partner engagement if there is a claims dispute, for an example. So other factors that are happening is that a lack of business analytics undermines effective business planning. If you don't have a reason to talk to your partner, they're not going to want to talk to you, right? If you can't just go to them with, oh, we're just going to not handle this, and you don't have the information to back it up. There's the lack of systems mean that channel teams cannot keep pace with partner needs, and incomplete programs foster short-term rather than sustained business value. So how do you engage partners for better business planning, better joint marketing, and better co-selling? These are the questions at hand with partner engagement. We also found from the Deloitte study that inadequate partner engagement could lead to incentive abuse. So we believe that most incentive abuse is probably not intentional. However, if there's not a close engagement and relationship with your partner, or if there's a lack of systems in place, mistakes can happen. And incentive abuse may affect up to 25% of all channel sales and result in significant lost profits, according to the Deloitte report. And abuse often goes largely undetected. There's a lack of active program management. When you have a lack of active program management with partners, when there's a shift in the channel models and business models, go-to-market models of products and solutions, as well as partners, your channel partners' own business models. Inadequate insight to partner and program performance can also be a cause, and inadequate controls related to validating and managing channel incentives. So the report also shares some information of companies' confidence in existing controls that they have in place to identify abuse. And what Deloitte found is that most companies, if we look at the chart, 50% say they're somewhat confident, and 42% say not at all confident. So we understand that it's a challenge to really understand if abuse is happening or not, but it would be much better if you felt confident that you knew that abuse was not happening. So the reason is that companies lack consistent processes or systems for incentive program development and controls of partners. This also brings into play the high risk of non-compliance with channel partners. So you want to make sure you avoid that as well. And so what we're finding that this level of confidence is quite high, that there isn't any with the partners. And I'd now like to open up one more poll, and the last poll to get a perspective from you is how confident are you on the effectiveness of incentive controls and compliance enforcement with partners?
Okay, let's go ahead and get that last poll launched. So once again, my confidence level on the effectiveness of incentive controls is very confident, somewhat confident, not at all confident, or don't know. So we'll give everyone a couple of moments to go ahead and get their answers in. I had over half of you vote already. And once again, we'll give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the poll and take a look at the results. So my confidence level on the effectiveness of incentive controls is, we had 50% say very confident, 38% are somewhat confident, 13% are not at all confident, and we had 0% who didn't know. So once again, very confident, half the people in attendance.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Thank you, Lisa. Because when I saw this slide, I was actually really shocked as well that there was just such a high percent of not at all confident. I would think there would be a little bit more of very confident. And, you know, I'm glad to see that at least that confidence level is there, that abuse isn't happening. However, we did learn, though, that validation is being done very manually, so it may not be yielding the greatest performance, but at least you have a good idea of confidence with their incentives and claims, and that's very good to know as well. And 38 somewhat, we also still feel that's pretty on target as well, that most companies are kind of in not really sure. And thank you again for sharing that with us. And I'd like to now talk about how you can gain confidence and, you know, working with your partners and validating the claims. And one of the key ways of doing that is gaining actionable intelligence. So it's important to have the systems in place so that you can have the ability to track, not only to process and operationalize the entire process of managing channel engagement activities and incentive programs, but you really need a layer of analytics involved with how you're looking at the whole ecosystem of your partners. And channel teams that lack systems, they lack systems that assist them in tracking, validated, calculating, reporting, and aligning sales activities. And granular visibility and analytics are required to validate and verify behaviors and results from incentive offerings. You don't know what you don't know as well. So if you don't have the ability to drill down and understand what's really happening at the product level, the partner level, and the program level, then you're really at a loss. And if you're just looking at top line sales revenue, is that really enough if you need to improve overall performance that you want to get from your channel? So how will you address the increasing complexity of channel models, programs, and products? We have here the Channel Performance Dashboard. This is an analytics. What we're illustrating here is that the way to do that is to be able to have analytics available at your fingertips. And one way to do that is by having a channel performance dashboard that's easily available, that allows you to see a high-level picture of all the business activity at once, and that could be tailored to the business user. So the dashboard delivers insight into channel performance by program, by partner, and by product. So you can identify and replicate the best programs, direct resources to top-performing partners, and measure product profitability more accurately. What this dashboard is showing here is on the top left, you can see all of your programs that you're being run and the types of incentives that are being run in those programs. You can have a trend analysis of the revenue coming in year over year. You can see, going down to the bottom left, the partners and which partner is delivering the most revenue by the size of the circle. And you can see, you can have a performance measurement right there, so you can always see how your channel is operating in a real-time basis. And then you can have the products that are being sold, and you can see the type of incentive spend that's happening with regards to which products. So it's not just this idea of overall spend. You can actually see illustrations for your whole ecosystem of your channel. So let's take a look at how not only having a dashboard, but then you can actually drill down into details right from your desktop, right at your fingertips, or just by having analytics available to you. So what we're seeing here is, if you're looking at trend analysis, what happens if you notice that there's a spike in incentive spend under one of your partner programs? So what we're showing here is that there's a spike that occurred with one of your programs called USD Premier Partner Program, and you want to understand, well, what's going on here? Why is this spend suddenly up so high over the last quarter? So if you drill down, you can get a closer look that reveals what the products, the brand of products that are most heavily sold under that particular program. Then from there, you can even start to then drill down into the product details. So you could see that there's 3 product families that are delivering roughly the same revenue, but if you look up at the top, the green bubble up there, it's showing that one product family, the Fieldmaster Pro, accounts for much higher incentive spend. So you can ask yourself, should we consider changing this program in order to optimize the spend amongst all the products in the family? But before you do that, you also want to take a look at what's going on in the program itself to see what's going on there as well, not just the product view. You also want to take a look at the program view. So you can drill down into details of what the program view is and what's going on with that particular program. So a closer look here shows that 4 partners are participating in that program. And there's over 1 million in incentive claims totaling the pending amount under that program. So you'll need to be able to first see what's happening in the program before you start making any changes to the program, and also have an understanding of the partners that are participating in that program, what their current claims are, what they're currently participating for you, so that you can communicate with them before you make any changes to the program. You can also drill down and see partner details as well. So before approaching a partner, you may want to be able to see everything about them as well, and how much they are affecting your margins and profitability, and how much revenue they're bringing in before you talk to them. So with those details at hand, you can evaluate possible changes to lower your incentive spend and drive more revenue. And you can communicate with the effective partners proactively about the types of changes that you might make in your incentive spend. You can also have a corporate-wide performance analysis. So analytics really is, there's so much you can do with it, and so many ways you can slice and dice and look at data and be able to have access to it is really the most important thing. So you have the visibility to your overall performance of what's going on in your company, and you can see it by partner, program, and by product, so that way you can then decide how to strategize and develop and deliver more targeted incentive campaigns to your partner community. So this corporate-wide performance analysis is looking at the corporate-wide perspective, and it allows you the ability to review overall company margins and evaluate what types of incentives are being leveraged the most. You can understand variations based on line of business and product lines, and understand contribution of various incentive types to show their net sales. And this overall gives you a better understanding of your profit margins and just a greater sense of comfort level and confidence that you know what's happening in your channel and with your partners and with your programs at your fingertips. So what we've been talking about is having a system in place. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things happening in the workflow when you're working with the channel, and we illustrated that in our diagram. And even just as soon as we just start talking about incentives, sometimes it just gets complex, right? We're talking about pricing, we're talking about products, families of products, we're talking about hundreds of partners, and partners that have unique business models, your own business models. How many things are on the table that we're talking about here? You want revenues to keep increasing. You want partners to remain attracted to you. And this is such an important part of your business. So how is it that there's not a system in place that connects you to your partners and their systems and your community with your partners, and also to your financial systems in which you're engaging with those partners and paying claims and managing the sales of your products? So as we can see in this workflow diagram, this really here is illustrating a type of system that you can have in place. A system that improves your ability to be creative with channel incentive programs, improve partner relationships, and selling products through the channel. So what we have here is that a system can manage program definitions, incentive developments, eligibility of partners and their status. Then you can launch your program, and it can also help you validate, calculate, and forecast on your programs, and have that all linking with not only partner systems and even front-end sales systems with data, but also with your back-end financial systems, so that validations are accurate and there's actually a way to be able to analyze and view everything that's happening with regards to managing your channel. Analytics is a layer that we have up top here that allows you to analyze, model, explore, visualize, and report on all of the activity happening in your channel. So in summary, we covered a lot today, and I very much appreciate everyone's participation and the polls. We have about 10 minutes left. I just wanted to quickly summarize how you can achieve success in the channel. So implement a purpose-built solution for end-to-end channel management, create more effective incentive programs that drive revenue, streamline and automate incentive processing on the back end to ensure expected and optimal outcomes, assist partner program effectiveness and evolve strategies together with your partners, and sharing information with your partners for joint business planning. These are some keys to success with working in your channel, and also with being able to create more targeted, creative, and impactful and meaningful incentive campaigns with your partners. And I thank you very much for your time, and I'd like to now turn it over to Lisa for questions. And I also wanted to let you know, just before we start answering questions, that we have an accompanying ebook to today's topic, and you can access that on Revitas Inc. You could go to our website to access this. We also will be putting it up in our community page as well with the Channel Focus community. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, we will now open it up for questions. If you would like to ask a question, you may do so using the chat window located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or you can also raise your hand using the raise hand button. So we'll give everyone a minute or so to go ahead and write in any questions that you may have. Okay, the first one was, where can I download the ebook? And that would be at the Revitas website there, or within the Channel Focus community. And we'll make sure that we put that up and send you, the attendees, an email so that you know exactly where that will be. All right, we have another question. Can you elaborate more on how enhanced analytics can help me generate more returns from my partners?
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for that question. That seems to be a hot topic right now. Everything about enhanced analytics. It's just really not enough anymore to have spreadsheets and rows and columns of data or just reports that are always the same thing every month or every quarter with top-line results and just basic information about how you're working with your partners. So that's a great question, because the enhanced analytics, I know we showed a little bit today of an overview of how it can help you work with your partners, but really it gives you the ability to really slice and dice. That was just a high-level example of the type of information that analytics, with an analytics piece in place for channel management, will give you the ability to have insights to. Actually, the amount of data and information that you can have is quite vast. It's very, very deep and very, very broad. So with that capability of just having that data and then the ability to visualize, explore, model on that data, do forecasts and projections, by being able to have that kind of power of information that you know is accurate, it just gives you the ability to go to your partner with select pieces of information. You don't have to just open everything, the floodgates up, but it allows you to strategically align business objectives with your partners more in a sense of having you go to them with something in your hand, if that makes sense. You don't want to just shout from the rooftop, hey, sell my products more with my partners, but you don't really understand the details of how they are selling your products. That might hurt their feelings, or they might be like, hey, I am selling their products. Like, it's just that it gives you a little bit more of information and proof points that you can take in a business discussion and start having more ability to open the doors of conversation with partners as well.
Okay, great. Thank you again, Jennifer. Pedro asked a question. He would like to know if there's a trial version of your software. He likes to try it before he buys it, so I thought that was a very interesting question.
Thank you, Pedro. I don't believe there's a trial, but what I would like to do is follow up with you directly after this call to get you in touch so we can give you a demo. But there's a lot of things that we can do to work with you. And as far as like to try it out, I don't want to just blankly say, yeah, you can do that, but I know that there's ways that we will work with you to make sure that you get a really full and deep understanding of what our product capabilities are. So thank you for that question, and we will follow up with you after this call.
Wonderful, and he also thanked you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and I think we probably have time for at least one, maybe two more questions. How is the changing tech market increasing the power of the informed buyer, and how can I address this? That was from Greg.
Okay, so I think this kind of falls into play with regards to customers are also heavily involved with the way that you work with managing your partners, obviously, but your partners is a layer between you and your end customer, right? So, but as the customer is becoming more informed and has a lot more ability to work with different ways to buy products and solutions and sales, you need to be able to, with your relationships, with your partnerships here, I'm not talking about direct to the customer because we're obviously focusing on channel intensive business here, but with your partners and strength in your relationships with your partners and even systems in place with your partners can help you reach the informed buyer more directly and also be able to affect their decision making as well. So we talk about a little bit about this in our partner engagement theme, which is our third, we call it our third pillar, and where we address and discuss maturity models with regards to working with your partners. And when you reach really a full, very well-established, well-oiled working relationship with your partners, you have the ability to also affect how you're going to reach your customers. And there's a lot of different ways that companies do that today, through channel marketing automation, with your partners as one example. And we're saying that that's the power of the informed buyer because the informed buyer is expecting now a little bit more different ways to buy and interact and to purchase, and their purchasing decisions are different. So the way that you can help affect that is through your partners and improved partner engagement with these ideas and methodologies and tools in place to be able to reach that type of buyer more closely.
Okay, great. Well, I think that just about finishes up we're almost at the top of the hour. So, pardon me, thank you so very much, Jennifer, for offering your time and sharing all of your knowledge with us today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. Please do take a few moments to fill out your post-event survey. Your input, of course, is very important to us. This does conclude today's conference, and you may now disconnect. And again, thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you everyone for joining today. Please send us any other questions if you have them as well. Thank you.
Thank you.